Hi, and welcome to the channel Reddit Confessions. Today's story? Yeah, it starts with a toothbrush. Not love, not heartbreak. Not a romantic dinner or a text I wasn't supposed to see. A toothbrush. A blue one, to be specific. And no, it wasn't mine. I walked into the bathroom that morning still half asleep. I brushed my teeth like a zombie. Mouth full of mint foam. Eyes unfocused. I reached for the cup that holds our brushes and grabbed the one on the left, mine. Same spot as always. I was already brushing when I looked in the mirror and paused. That toothbrush wasn't mine. Mine was always dark green. This one was sky blue, sleek, new, fancy. And sitting right where mine used to be. I stared at it. Then back at the cup. Green gone. Blue, in its place. But here's the thing that sent a cold wave down my spine. My wife, Linnea, uses an electric brush. She hasn't used a manual one in over a year. I spit, dropped the brush, and stood there, my mouth still tingling with mint, my brain racing through every horrible possibility like a rigged slot machine spinning betrayal after betrayal. So I did what every emotionally confused husband does in 2025. I started investigating like a dollar store detective. I checked the laundry hamper. 2 pairs of men's socks I didn't recognize. Ankle cut, brand new, not my size. The trash? A receipt for a sandwich shop across town. One I know we've never been to together, but the timestamp? Right during one of her extended Pilates sessions. I didn't want to believe it. I told myself maybe she bought the toothbrush for a guest. Maybe the socks were from a gym lost and found. Maybe I was unraveling over nothing. And then, while emptying the dishwasher like the good little ignored husband I am, her phone buzzed on the counter. A message. No name. Just a number. You left your hoodie here. I'll bring it Friday. Miss you already. I didn't touch her phone. I didn't need to. My legs just gave out and I slid to the floor next to the open dishwasher. A clean plate in my lap, and that message carved into my skull. When she came home, all smiles, talking about how great her core workout was, I just nodded. I didn't say a word. Until she turned to leave the kitchen. And that's when I asked it soft, low, like I was asking her what time dinner was. Who is he? She froze mid-step. Just like that. Not a word. Not a sound. Just a tiny, visible tremble in her shoulders. And then, without even looking back, she whispered, "What makes you think it's a he?" I felt something inside me collapse. I think it was my spine. Or my trust. Maybe both. And that was the moment I knew. She'd been bluffing this entire time. The yoga, the solo weekends, the long showers after the gym, the double-locked phone. All of it. Her reaction gave her away completely. And the toothbrush? Still sitting in the trash, untouched. Just like the version of me she claimed to love. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even lie down. I just sat on the edge of the guest bed. Yes, we have one. Though it hasn't hosted guests in over 2 years, staring at the glowing numbers on the clock as they flipped forward, minute after minute. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even crying, which surprised me. I was just hollow, like someone had scooped out all the important parts of me and left behind an echo. Her words kept circling in my head. What makes you think it's a he? That sentence didn't just confirm the betrayal. It weaponized it. Because it meant there were more layers to her secrets than I'd ever imagined. She didn't try to explain it that night. She went to bed. Actually went to sleep. That's the part that got me. How do you just sleep after a moment like that? How do you slip under the covers and breathe evenly like you haven't just detonated the life you built with someone? The next morning, she acted normal. Made her coffee. Played her usual podcast about resilience and growth. Like she wasn't currently tearing down the only stable thing in my world. She kissed me on the cheek and said she'd be home late. Some nonsense about a networking dinner. Then she was gone. Just like that. I didn't go to work. I didn't call in. I just stood in our quiet house, surrounded by the carefully curated pieces of a life I thought was real. The wedding photo on the wall. The souvenir magnet from our Colorado trip. The half-burned candle on the windowsill that she always said smelled like peace. Everything felt staged, fake, like a model home waiting for a buyer. I don't know what possessed me to do it, but I started checking the laundry. Maybe I was hoping I'd find nothing. Maybe I was hoping I'd find everything. The dryer had just finished a cycle. I opened it, and there it was, a hoodie. But not just any hoodie. Black, worn, and unmistakably not mine. The sleeves were too long. The inside smelled like a cologne I didn't wear. Sharp, musky, bold. The kind of scent you wear when you know someone else is going to be pulling your clothes off. I pulled it out with trembling hands. The label on the neck read Travis Ridge. I'd never heard of it. I Googled it immediately. Turns out it's some boutique streetwear brand based in Chicago. Not cheap. Not local. The kind of brand you only wear if you're trying to impress someone. I checked the pockets and found a receipt. A bar tab, time-stamped 3 nights ago. 2 drinks, 1 appetizer, and a little scribble on the corner of the paper. L with a heart. That was it. That was the final crack. Something in me snapped. Not loudly, no shouting, no smashing things, but silently. Like a bridge collapsing under the weight of years it was never built to carry. I sat on the laundry room floor, holding that hoodie like it was a live animal. Something foreign and snarling in my hands. I didn't need to ask who Elle was. I knew. I just didn't know who she'd become. I walked back to our bedroom, opened her drawer, and pulled out the box where she keeps her journals. She's always been a writer, private, poetic, internal, she called it. Normally I would never invade her privacy, but let's be honest. What privacy exists between 2 people when one of them is already sharing pieces of themselves with someone else? I found an entry dated 2 months ago. It started with, "I didn't mean for it to happen, but he makes me feel alive." My hands went cold. I kept reading. "With Ezra, everything's effortless. I laugh more. I feel seen. Dan just doesn't look at me that way anymore. Maybe I'm awful. Maybe I don't care." Ezra. So that was his name. The man behind the messages, the socks, the cologne, the hoodie. The man who had apparently replaced me in her eyes without me even noticing. Or worse, noticing but convincing myself it was all in my head. I closed the journal. Put everything back exactly the way I found it. My heart was racing, but my body was still. I felt numb. But I also felt something else, clarity. This wasn't just a betrayal. This was a slow execution. And I'd been cooperating with it the whole time. I didn't confront her that night. Not yet. I have a plan. But the next time she lies to my face, I'll be ready. That night I couldn't sit still. I was pacing from room to room like a caged animal, trying to hold in the flood that was building behind my teeth. I didn't know if it was going to come out as a scream, or sobs, or something worse. My hands were cold. My chest felt hollow. And yet somehow I'd never seen things more clearly. I wasn't just betrayed, I was replaced. Quietly, subtly, like a piece of old furniture shoved into the garage and forgotten. I didn't plan to do what I did next. I wish I could say it was part of some grand strategy. But the truth is, it was pure instinct. I remembered the receipt I found in Ezra's hoodie. The one from that bar. 2 drinks. A heart. The timestamp had been from Friday night. The same night Linnea had told me she was working late on a design project with her client from Boston. I pulled out my laptop. I opened our shared calendar, the one we barely used anymore but still occasionally updated with dentist appointments and dinner dates. Friday night was empty. No work meeting. No deadline. Just a blank square staring back at me like it had known all along. So I called the bar. I told them I lost my credit card there on Friday night, and I needed to check if it had been used. The guy on the phone was helpful, surprisingly. He asked me to verify the name on the tab. I said Ezra. There was a pause. Then, "Yeah man, that guy was here. Back corner booth. Came in with a brunette. Pretty loud couple." I remember because she accidentally spilled her drink and laughed like it was the funniest thing in the world. I thanked him and hung up. My stomach flipped. The version of Linnea I knew didn't laugh in public. She was reserved, private, refined. But this version, the one who wore new perfume and scribbled hearts on receipts, she was someone else. Someone I'd never met. Still, I didn't confront her that night. I needed more. Proof was one thing, but I wanted to understand how deep this went. Not just what she was doing, but why. What did he give her that I didn't? Or maybe worse, what had I taken away? When she came home around 10:30 p.m., she was glowing. Cheeks flushed, hair slightly messy, and a smile on her face that she didn't even try to hide. She walked in like nothing had happened. Said dinner went long. Her client had been more demanding than expected. I just nodded. She asked if I wanted tea. I said no. She kissed me on the head and walked into the bedroom like the world was perfectly fine. I stared at the back of her as she left the room, and for a split second I saw it. The tiniest hesitation in her step. A flicker of guilt or fear, maybe. I'll never know. But it told me something important. She knew I was close to finding out. The next day, I called my friend Malcolm. We hadn't talked in months. He's one of those guys who still knows a guy for everything, the type who can find things, dig into things. He used to be in cybersecurity before starting a coffee roasting business, of all things. I told him I needed help. I didn't give him all the details, just enough to let him know it was serious. I can install something, he said. Only if you're sure. It'll mirror her phone. You'll see messages, location, calls, everything. I hesitated. I felt disgusting. Like I was crossing some moral line I swore I'd never go near. But then I remembered the look on her face when she read that text from Ezra. That little smirk she tried to hide. Do it, I said. So now I'm sitting here in a coffee shop, waiting for the notification that the Mirror app is live. I left her phone unlocked this morning. Told her it was updating while she was in the shower. She didn't suspect a thing. Part of me is terrified of what I'll find. The other part already knows. But there's one thing I know for sure now: this story isn't over. It hasn't even begun. Because when people like Linnea lie this easily, it's never just one lie. It's a house made of them. And I'm about to walk straight into the foundation. By Thursday, the Mirror app Malcolm installed was running like clockwork. Every ping, every location change, every message. It was all quietly mirrored to my laptop without Linnea having the faintest idea. I hadn't planned to go this far. I never imagined I'd be the guy monitoring his own wife like some paranoid detective, hunched over a screen in the middle of the night with the glow of betrayal lighting up my face. But when the truth starts to rot your marriage from the inside, you do things you never thought you were capable of. And I had already crossed the line. There was no going back. The first few hours of access were surprisingly quiet. She texted a friend about a work deadline. Ordered sushi from the same place we used to go when things were still good. Checked Pinterest for kitchen remodeling ideas. I almost let myself believe I was wrong. That maybe Ezra was a ghost from weeks ago and she had cut things off. Maybe it had been an emotional slip, a moment of weakness. Maybe the universe would be kind enough to let me breathe again. But then something strange happened. Around 11:42 p.m. that night, while she was asleep next to me, her phone lit up. But not the usual notification screen. No vibration. Just a flicker. And then, nothing. I looked over. Her screen was dark. I tapped my Mirrored app. No activity. I waited. Still nothing. It didn't make sense. The next morning, I checked the app history again, and that's when I saw it. The activity log had gone dead between 11:41 and 12:15. Total blackout. No texts, no calls, no app usage, no location tracking. But I knew she didn't touch her phone. I was wide awake the whole time, watching her breathe. That left one explanation. A second device. I nearly dropped my coffee mug. It sounds ridiculous, I know, straight out of some teenage spy thriller. But the more I thought about it, the more it added up. She'd become strangely protective of her purse lately. She took it with her everywhere, even just to take the trash out. She used to leave it by the door, wide open, keys falling out, phone exposed. Now, zipped, strapped, and always within reach. I waited for her to leave for work, and then I tore through the house like a madman. Not in anger, in panic. In desperation. I checked drawers, under the couch, coat pockets, laundry baskets. Nothing. I even climbed up into the attic, thinking maybe she was hiding things up there. Dust covered my hands, my clothes, my face. But I didn't care. I felt like a man drowning underwater, reaching out in the dark for a rope he's no longer sure exists. And then I found it. In the back of the guest room closet, behind an old suitcase, tucked into the flap of a yoga mat bag she hadn't used in over a year. There it was. A slim, black phone. Powered off. I stared at it like it was a bomb. I didn't touch it. I didn't need to. I already knew. She had a second phone. All this time, I thought I was inching toward the truth. Turns out I hadn't even been playing the right game. I'd been following breadcrumbs while she was out there baking entire loaves of deception. I went to the bathroom and threw up. I don't even know why. It just hit me. The weight of it all. The absurdity. The final nail in the coffin of a marriage that, just weeks ago, I still believed could be saved. I sat on the floor for over an hour, staring at the tile, shaking, heart pounding like I was in some kind of war zone. When she came home that night, I was calm. Too calm, maybe. She asked how my day was. I told her I'd spent most of it reorganizing the closet. She smiled and kissed me like nothing was wrong. I kissed her back. I even helped her make dinner. But I kept my eyes on her purse. And now I know the real phone, the real messages are in there. The mirrored app? It was just a decoy for the decoy. Tomorrow, I'm gonna find a way to get into that second phone. And when I do, there'll be no more bluffing. No more pretending. Because this time, I won't be asking, who is he? I'll already know. I waited until Saturday morning to make my move. Linnea had a hair appointment across town. A full-color refresh and trim, which meant at least 2 hours out of the house. She left around 9:15 a.m., blowing me a kiss like we were still living in some sitcom marriage where I hadn't spent the last 2 nights staring at a hidden phone like it was a lit stick of dynamite. Once her car disappeared down the street, I locked the front door, pulled the yoga mat bag from the closet, and laid the phone on the kitchen counter like it was evidence in a criminal trial. Because really, that's exactly what it was. I pressed the power button. The screen flickered to life. Black background. No wallpaper. Just one word. Enter PIN. Of course. I tried her birthday. Mine. Our anniversary. The day we got our dog. Nothing. Then I tried Ezra's name. 3972. Still nothing. It locked me out after 5 attempts. Said to wait 30 seconds. I paced the kitchen like a lunatic, chewing my thumbnail down to the skin. I didn't have time to guess randomly. One wrong move and it could lock for hours or worse, wipe itself. I needed a clue. Something she would use but no one would expect. Then it hit me. A conversation we'd had 2 years ago, during one of those long late-night talks when we still told each other things that mattered. She had once said, if I ever had a secret phone, I'd use something no one would ever guess. Something dumb. Like the street I used to live on when I was 6. It sounded like a joke at the time. But now it felt like a breadcrumb. I ran to the filing cabinet, flipped through her childhood records, old school photos, anything that might help. I found it. A school permission slip from 1996. Return address, Willowbend Drive. I held my breath. 9456. I entered it. The screen unlocked. I didn't cheer. I didn't breathe. I didn't even blink. The background was blank, just like the exterior of the phone. But the apps told the truth. Private messenger. Encrypted call. Vault gallery. The first message was from someone saved as M. It read, "Miss your voice. That thing you said last night is still replaying in my head." I opened the conversation. The chat thread exploded in a wash of intimacy and secrets. There were messages sent at 3 a.m. while I was lying inches from her. Audio notes with his voice, deep and confident. And hers, whispery and giddy in a way I hadn't heard in years. Photos too. Not explicit, just close. Too close. A hand resting on her knee. A shot of her biting her lip in a car's rearview mirror. But here's the part that shattered whatever was left of my naive hope. It wasn't Ezra. His name was Matt. A different man. I stood there, phone in hand, every blood vessel in my body freezing over. Ezra was just a fragment, a stepping stone. Matt was the one she really spoke to like that. The way she used to speak to me when we were young and invincible and believed we could weather anything. I scrolled back weeks and weeks. The relationship had depth, rhythm. They spoke daily, sometimes about trivial things, sometimes about plans, vacations, a future I was clearly not part of. And then I saw it, a saved voicemail from 3 nights ago. I plugged in headphones and hit play. Her voice came through, sleepy but soft, full of affection. I hate pretending. I hate going home to him. Every day I think about just packing a bag and running away with you. Just say the word, Matt. Say the word and I'll do it. I took the headphones off and set them on the counter like they were poison. For the first time since this nightmare began, I wasn't just heartbroken. I was humiliated. Everything. Every dinner, every smile, every time she laughed at my stupid jokes while her phone buzzed in her lap. It had all been part of her juggling act. 2 lives, 2 men, and she wore them both like costumes. And me? I was just the set piece in the background. The prop husband. The placeholder. I put the phone back exactly where I found it. Locked it. Returned it to the yoga mat bag. Zipped it up. Not because I didn't care, but because I wanted her to think I still didn't know. Because now I had something even more powerful than suspicion. I had certainty. And when the time comes to confront her, it won't be with emotion. It'll be with facts. Because when I ask her one last time, who is he? I want to see her try to lie with his name still fresh on her tongue. Sunday came like a joke no one was laughing at. It was my birthday. I didn't expect much. I hadn't had a party since I turned 30, and even then it was just pizza with 2 of my coworkers and Linnea pretending to like them for 3 hours. But still, you hope for something. A small gesture. A warm breakfast. A card with something handwritten. Something that reminds you that you matter to someone. But when I came downstairs that morning, she was already gone. No note. No message. Just her leftover smoothie glass on the counter, and an appointment marked in her planner. Brunch with Kara, 10:30. Kara. Her friend from college. The one I haven't heard her mention in months. I stared at the note like it owed me an explanation. I don't know why this stung more than the second phone or the late-night texts. Maybe because this one was personal. She forgot my birthday. Or worse, she didn't forget. She just didn't care. I didn't call her. I didn't remind her. I spent the first half of the day doing absolutely nothing. I sat in silence on the back porch, sipping reheated coffee, watching squirrels scatter around like they had more purpose than I did. I didn't cry. That was gone now. Whatever part of me had cracked open earlier in the week was now sealed shut with cold, hard resignation. The betrayal wasn't just emotional or physical anymore. It was spiritual. Like she'd taken the version of me that still believed in love and stomped it out. By late afternoon, she still hadn't messaged me. No happy birthday. No emoji. Not even a fake excuse. I opened the mirrored phone app, more out of habit than anything. Her location showed she was still at that same upscale bar from last week. The one where Ezra, or rather Matt, had left his little love note on a receipt. But she wasn't alone. The app had screen mirroring enabled on camera permissions, something Malcolm had added as a bonus trick. When she opened her selfie cam to check her lipstick, I saw it. A reflection. A man's shoulder. A watch. A glass raised for a toast. And then her smile. She smiled in a way she hadn't smiled at me in years. Full teeth. Wrinkles by her eyes. Head tilted just slightly. That subtle lean women do when they're engaged in a moment they want to last. She didn't look guilty. She didn't look worried. She looked free. I closed the app. That image burned into my mind like a scar. Her celebrating with him while I spent the day alone. Slowly losing my mind in the home we built together. I didn't leave the house. I didn't respond to the 2 automated texts from department stores offering me 10% off birthday purchases. The only call I got was from my mother, who sang out of tune and didn't ask about Linnea because she knew better. At 7:12 p.m., the front door opened. Hey babe. She called from the hallway, the sound of shopping bags rustling behind her. Sorry. Kara's car broke down and we had to wait forever for a tow. I already knew she took an Uber to the bar. The receipt was in my inbox, synced from her rideshare account to her Apple ID. It even showed her drop-off location as Matt's residence. I stood in the kitchen, watching her fake a whole reality into existence like she'd rehearsed it in the mirror. She unpacked a few scented candles, some bath salts, a pair of leggings. I was thinking of running a hot bath, she said, not even glancing at me. You okay? I didn't answer right away. I studied her, not just her face but her performance. The practiced way she softened her voice. The false concern in her brows. The way she kept her eyes away from mine because she knew she couldn't control how hers would react if she saw what mine were holding. Then I said, calmly, "Do you remember what today is?" She paused. Just slightly. A flicker. I saw the gears turning. I watched the panic crawl up the back of her spine like static. "Oh my God!" she gasped, hand to her mouth. "Dan, I'm so sorry. Work's been insane and I didn't even realize." I raised a hand. "It's okay." She blinked. "No, it's not. I can't believe I forgot." "It's okay," I repeated, slower this time. "Really, I didn't expect anything." She looked relieved. Relieved. Like someone who avoided a fine by sweet-talking the meter maid. "I'll make it up to you," she said softly. "We'll do something next weekend. I'll plan the whole thing." I nodded. She leaned in to kiss my cheek. I let her. And in that moment, I knew exactly what I had to do. Not scream. Not expose. Not even cry. No. The next move had to be silent. Methodical. Because if she could smile with him while I stared into the black hole of my own loneliness on the day I was born. She didn't deserve words. She deserved distance. And soon she was going to get plenty of it. By Monday morning, something inside me had gone permanently quiet. The kind of silence that isn't peaceful but sharp, calculated, electric. It was like the emotional chaos had burned out every last wire in me. And what remained wasn't rage or heartbreak anymore. It was precision. Cold, clean, unshakable focus. I had decided. I was going to leave her. Not dramatically. Not in flames. No screaming matches. No ultimatums. No middle-of-the-night bag-packing scenes where she begs for forgiveness she doesn't mean. No, I wasn't going to give her a single theatrical moment to feel important about. I was going to disappear with the same quiet she used to destroy us. That was the only closure she'd get, and the only power I still had left. But before I left, I needed to make sure I had everything in place. Not for revenge. I didn't care about revenge. I cared about truth, and protecting whatever scraps of my sanity hadn't been stomped flat by her fake smiles and tangled stories. Step 1, the lawyer. I scheduled a consultation with a man named Wallace Hendricks, a specialist in quiet divorces. No drama, no shouting matches in courtrooms, just facts, documents, timelines, and precision. The call lasted an hour. He asked all the hard questions and I had every answer. Names, dates, locations, screenshots, audio messages, bank transactions. Her second phone's contents had been fully backed up on my cloud drive without her ever knowing. Wallace was impressed. "This'll be clean," he said. "But it's going to shake her." "Good," I replied. Step 2, the accounts. I had access to everything. She never changed her passwords. Joint accounts, investment portfolios, even her personal Amazon history. I didn't touch anything, I just watched, observed, took note of what she was spending money on, where it was going, and when. Turns out Matt was more than just emotional comfort. He was expensive. Dinners, hotel rooms, rideshares, new clothes, all purchased subtly enough that she probably thought I'd never notice. She used to make fun of me for checking the statements. Called it control issues. I used to feel guilty about that. Not anymore. Step 3, my exit. I waited until she was out. Another client dinner. This time at some downtown venue she said was for networking. I knew exactly where she was. I saw her location ping outside Matt's apartment at 7:16 p.m. She stayed there for 3 hours. Probably didn't even bother faking it anymore. While she was gone, I started collecting the things that mattered to me. My grandfather's journals. A box of family photos. A collection of letters my late sister had written me in high school. My hard drives. My books. I didn't take any of her things. I didn't break anything. I left everything exactly as it was, like a perfectly staged lie waiting to be exposed. I even cleaned the house before I left. Ran the dishwasher. Took out the trash. Changed the sheets. I don't know why. Maybe part of me wanted her to come home and feel safe one last time, before it all collapsed around her. I left one thing behind, though. An envelope. Not labeled. Not sealed. Just resting quietly on the kitchen table, next to the fruit bowl she never filled. Inside were 5 photos, screenshots, all from the hidden phone. One showed her and Matt sitting too close in the booth at that bar. Another was a message where she called me a ghost with a wedding ring. Another was a receipt from the hotel where they had checked in at 2:38 p.m. while I was at my mother's funeral. And the last one, that was the message she sent him on my birthday. He didn't suspect a thing today. I'm so glad I was with you instead. I felt alive again. No note, no message from me, just the facts laid out like evidence on a table. And when I walked out the door, I didn't look back. I drove to a small Airbnb 3 towns over. No contact, no texts. I left my phone behind and activated a spare one, just for emergencies. I had enough cash to cover a few weeks. I'd start over somewhere else. File for divorce silently. Pull my name from every shared account. Leave her to sit in the house we built and realize too late just how hollow it feels when the lies finally stop echoing. But here's the twist. 2 days later, she messaged my mother. I didn't expect that. She asked if I was with her. Said I'd left without explanation. Said I seemed off lately. Said she was concerned. Concerned. The woman who left me alone on my birthday, who smiled at another man over cocktails while calling me a ghost. Concerned. My mother didn't respond. She called me instead. I told her the truth. Not every detail, but enough. She cried. Said she never liked Linnea's laugh. Said she always knew something was wrong. That night, Linnea sent another message. This time to my old college roommate Mark, the one who lives in Seattle now. She was digging, asking where I might go, telling people she was worried and that something must be wrong. Something was wrong. She was the wrong. And soon everyone would know, because I wasn't done yet. The final part of my plan wasn't leaving. It was letting her watch me rebuild without her. Piece by piece, out loud, and completely unbothered. 3 weeks. That's how long it took before I started to feel human again. Not whole, not yet, but no longer hollow. No longer waking up in the middle of the night wondering how I could fix something that had already been buried in lies. I wasn't chasing closure anymore. I wasn't rereading texts or revisiting memories trying to spot the exact moment it all broke. I was letting go, not for her, but for me. My lawyer had already filed the papers. Linnea had been served through certified mail. I didn't speak to her. Didn't need to. Everything I wanted to say was in that envelope I left behind, and by now I knew she'd read every word between the lines. But something unexpected happened that reminded me life isn't just about loss. I got a job offer. It came from a small marketing agency in a coastal town I used to daydream about when we were still playing pretend happy in the suburbs. The kind of place where mornings smell like salt water and coffee, and the loudest thing you'll hear is seagulls bickering over dropped fries. They needed a creative lead. I needed an escape. I packed what little I had and drove out there. Alone but free. My first morning there, I went for a walk before work. No headphones. No distractions. Just the sound of waves brushing up against the shore and a breeze that didn't ask for anything in return. I passed a little bookstore, the kind with crooked shelves and handwritten signs. I went in, and the woman at the counter greeted me like she'd known me for years. Her name was Margot. She had paint on her hands and eyes that made you feel seen without judgment. We talked, just talked, for an hour. She didn't ask if I was married. Didn't ask why I looked like a man who'd been pulled out of a wreck. She just listened, laughed at a dumb joke I made about bookmarks, offered me a paper cup of tea and a local events flyer. I walked out with a novel and a number scribbled in the corner of the receipt. That night, I realized something. Healing doesn't come with fanfare. It doesn't arrive like a parade or a movie montage. It comes in moments, small, quiet, almost forgettable ones, that slowly stitch you back together. I still think about Linnea sometimes. Not with hate, not with longing, but with distance. Like remembering a dream that used to scare you, until one day it just didn't anymore. She sent me an email. Said she hoped I was okay. Said she was reflecting. That she missed what we had. I didn't reply. Not because I was bitter, but because I was finally too far ahead to turn around. I wasn't the ghost anymore. I wasn't the forgotten man in the background of her shiny new life. I was the man who came back to life, quietly, gently, and entirely on his own terms. And for the first time in years, that was enough. Thanks for watching this story on Reddit Confessions. If you've ever experienced a turning point in your life, a moment where you quietly took your power back, tell us about it in the comments below. What would you have done if you were in his shoes? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real stories that hit hard and heal deep. See you in the next confession.